Let's spend a minute and finish talking about the differences in bass cat boats. The differences in finish, they're easy to see for us. But for the average person, this isn't the enchanting part. This is the part where the work is. And there's a lot of things you don't realize. We spend a lot of time on countersunk holes, so every screw that goes into fiberglass is countersunk. And in that screw process, we use a square drive. So all of the bass cat screws are a custom ordered part. It allows you to use a number 3 Phillips with the same square drive bit, and one bit will do most everything on a bass cat boat. Pretty cool part. A lot of the things people don't realize when we mount the shock brackets and things like that, the hinges, the back of those has a special washer. It's a special neoprene bonded washer with a top stainless steel face head. And that little neoprene washer actually has to be made for us. So each one of them is individually stamped. We use the absolute heaviest marine grade carpet we can use. We use a 24-ounce carpet. It's really a 27, but it's rated at 24. This particular piece of carpet, these are identical size pieces. This is a competitor's 15-ounce carpet. This particular carpet in a 15 or an 18, this 15-ounce piece weighs 0.22 kilograms in the same size piece. This is our carpet. It weighs 0.36 kilograms. So their carpet weighs 60% the weight of a bass cat carpet. The actual denier, the strand weave, the needle stitching's crooked on theirs. Our needle stitching's nice and straight, good even stitching. Nice tight count on the weave. Nice tight count versus this. This is really not a very good carpet, not in our standards. Most all of our competitors use less carpet. We don't know of one that uses the same carpet we do. While we're talking about the differences in a bass cat boat, let's just spend another second here to talk about hoses. This is a steering hose. Every steering hose on these bass cat boats is sheathed from the helm all the way to the engine in a second sheath. This is a 1,500-pound Kevlar hose, so it's going to protect it from chafing and abrasion and from actually having a hook that impacts this that puts a hole in your steering line, which would cause failure. So we're trying to reduce all the chances for failure we can. Jack plates on a bass cat boat are all 6-bolt plates. Most every other company, matter of fact every other company, uses a 4-bolt plate. All of our plates are custom made for a bass cat boat. They're 8-inch offset, unless you get a Verado and it's a 3-inch offset or a 4-inch offset. But all the other plates are an 8-inch offset, and they're a 6-bolt plate. That 6-bolt plate gives you 2 more bolts. But not only is it just 2 more bolts, what it does, it prevents the fulcruming that other plates have. Shorter plates and shorter rails fulcrum in the middle of the transom, and they dig into the middle of the transom, eventually causing that transom to flex over the center. With a full-length rail, you support the entire transom. So that transom support, not only do we have the strongest transom, we have the best plate and the strongest plate. And it's also enforced by the fact that we have an aluminum plate on the inside of the transom at all 3 locations of the bolts. So we've got a 1/2-inch tie bar on the bottom, a 1/2-inch aluminum tie bar second up, and then the top plate with the bass cat emblem right on the top of the splash well. All of those are 6 bolts. And another cool thing about that, we only use fine thread bolts on those. So there's no coarse bolts there. They're all fine thread 1/2-inch bolts. A lot of little differences don't mean a lot to a lot of people. Think about that next time you're on the rough water out there. All right, while we're in the finish shop, let's just spend a minute here to talk about gauges and dashes and the things that we do that are different than other people as a whole. Things we've done for years since we got away from all the plastic dashes of the 80s. The dashes are done with individual holes, so each gauge is individually drilled. Each panel is cut just to fit that, whether it's your LCR or your gauge. And the bezels, they're all aluminum custom-made parts. So there's a series of parts that are all custom-made, whether it's this aluminum piece for the A10 or whether it's this one for this little touchpad right here. All of those are custom-made. They've got a little groove in them, a little inset. And what that does is it gives you a real solid, rigid dashboard in rough water. It gets it in there where you can not have to worry about it down the road through your years of ownership. The average person's going to keep that boat 7 to 12 years. It's the little details like this, all the jack plate bolts, all the front panel, the wiring. There's so many things that make a difference in a bass cat boat that last you through your years of ownership, and that's what we're about. We're about giving you something that'll last as long as you want it to last.